The afternoon sun streamed through the glass windows of a bustling café that sat on the corner of a lively city street. People came and went in a steady rhythm, carrying laptops, making phone calls, or pausing for a quick drink before rushing back to their routines. The café manager, a man in his mid-40s with a sharp suit and an air of confidence, stood near the counter, observing everything with a sense of authority. He prided himself on keeping things in order, but behind that pride was something else, an arrogance that had built up over years of managing people he considered beneath him. On that very afternoon, a man walked in quietly. His steps were unhurried, his clothes plain, and his presence hardly drew attention. He did not look like someone who commanded respect. In fact, to most people, he appeared like just another customer, perhaps even a little underdressed compared to the café's regular clientele. But this man carried something invisible, something far greater than the manager, the staff, or even the café itself could have imagined. He carried wisdom, humility, and experience, the kind that often hides itself in the plainest of appearances. He walked up to the counter, ordered a simple drink, and as he reached for his wallet, he realized he had forgotten it at home. Calmly, he turned to the manager and asked, "Would it be all right if I paid later? I left my wallet behind." The manager, who had been watching the entire exchange, smirked. He thought he had just caught someone trying to play clever. With a mocking laugh, he crossed his arms and said, "If you can show me even a small balance in your account, I'll pay you double." The words were dripping with sarcasm, his laughter echoing across the café loud enough for nearby customers to hear. Some of the customers chuckled nervously, unsure if they were witnessing a joke or a public humiliation. The staff at the counter shifted uncomfortably, knowing the manager's tone all too well. He enjoyed moments like this, moments where he could assert dominance, belittle someone, and remind everyone who was in charge. But the man did not flinch. He didn't argue, didn't show signs of embarrassment. Instead, he quietly reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and tapped on the screen. Within seconds, he turned the device around and gently placed it on the counter for the manager to see. The screen glowed with numbers that made the manager's face drain of color. It was an account balance that ran into the millions. For a moment, the manager's mind couldn't process what he was seeing. His smirk vanished, his laughter caught in his throat, and his arrogance melted into sheer disbelief. And then came the truth that hit harder than anything else. This man wasn't just a random customer. He was the CEO, the ultimate boss, the man who owned the very company that the café belonged to. The silence in the room was deafening. The staff looked at one another in shock, customers whispered among themselves, and the manager stood frozen, wishing he could rewind time and swallow back his careless words. But there was no undoing it now. The lesson had already been written into the fabric of that moment. The CEO didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult the manager or respond with anger. He simply looked him in the eye and said, "If you cannot respect someone when you think they have nothing, you don't deserve to serve them when they have everything." Those words lingered in the air, heavier than any punishment, sharper than any reprimand. The staff felt it, the customers felt it, and most importantly, the manager felt it. In that one sentence, his arrogance was laid bare, and his years of pride collapsed like a house of cards. The CEO picked up his drink, thanked the barista politely, and left as quietly as he had entered. There was no grand exit, no dramatic gesture, just the quiet dignity of a man who knew his worth didn't need to be shouted. That evening, the manager was called into a meeting. He sat nervously, replaying the incident over and over again in his head. He knew what was coming. And true enough, the decision was made. He would be replaced. Not because the CEO wanted revenge, but because leadership demands something more than efficiency or authority. It demands respect, empathy, and the ability to treat every person with dignity, regardless of who they appear to be. This story is more than just an embarrassing moment for one arrogant manager. It is a reflection of how quickly we, as human beings, judge others by their appearance, their clothes, or what we assume they have. or don't have. The manager's laughter came from a place of superiority. He believed that wealth defines worth, that money alone determines respect. But the CEO's calm response shattered that illusion. Respect is not something you offer only to those you think are above you. True respect is universal. It is given freely to everyone, whether they sweep the floors, serve the tables, or sit in the corner office at the top of the company. When you base respect on assumptions, you reveal more about yourself than about the other person. As days passed, the cafe employees often recalled that moment. The barista remembered the CEO's calm smile. The cashier remembered the shame on the manager's face. Even the customers who had witnessed it told the story to others, not because of the wealth on display, but because of the lesson hidden within. The CEO, in his own quiet way, had taught an entire cafe, and perhaps even an entire company, the meaning of humility. He had shown that true power doesn't need to humiliate, true wealth doesn't need to flaunt, and true leadership doesn't need to shout. And that's the essence of the story. Every time you meet someone, whether they're dressed in a suit or in simple clothes, whether they drive a luxury car or walk barefoot down the street, you are meeting a human being with dignity. You don't know their story, you don't know their struggles, their triumphs, or what they carry within. You don't know if the person you're mocking today might be the very person who could change your life tomorrow. The lesson echoes across time. Humility costs nothing, but arrogance can cost you everything. So the next time you feel tempted to laugh at someone, to mock them for what you think they lack, remember this cafe, this manager, and this CEO. Remember the silence that followed those careless words, and remember the truth spoken in one calm sentence. If you cannot respect someone when you think they have nothing, you don't deserve to serve them when they have everything. Because respect, once lost, cannot easily be regained. But respect, when given freely, builds bridges that last a lifetime.